are nice. These roads change everything. The West Coast is home to 12 rides so epic, every biker needs them on their bucket list. From redwoods to twisting canyons and ocean cliffs, these routes will make you wonder, how could you ride your whole life and miss these? Redwood Highway. Highway 101 through Northern California stretches about 175 miles, with the 31-mile Avenue of the Giants offering a scenic alternate that pulls riders directly under the tallest trees on Earth. Within minutes, you're moving between massive trunks that feel more ancient than anything built by people. Light filters through the canopy in shifting beams, creating quick changes from bright sun to dim shadow. That dim forest light can hide elk, wet pavement, or fallen branches, so lower speeds are essential, especially on the Avenue of the Giants. Roosevelt elk often wander into roadside meadows, and their sheer size makes them one of the most serious hazards here. A highlight stop is the chandelier tree near Leggett, where riders can actually ride through a tunnel carved in its base. It's touristy, but it's also one of the few spots where photos capture both your bike and the living giant that dwarfs it. These details, wildlife, sudden light shifts, and detours, make this ride more than just a highway run. For the best experience, aim for weekday mornings when traffic is light and the forest feels almost empty. From here, the next road takes you from quiet corridors of shade into one of California's most technical climbs. Palomar Mountain, South Grade Road, Highway S6, climbs Palomar Mountain with about 21 switchbacks compressed into just 7 miles. It's the kind of road where the challenge is clear from the start. Steep grades, constant curves, and no time to relax. The pavement is so smooth it tempts riders to push, but the sequence of turns can punish even small mistakes. For riders without much experience on technical climbs, this stretch can feel overwhelming. Every corner requires precise line control, and sudden grade changes can shift weight and balance quickly. Skilled riders know it's rewarding, but it's important to ride within limits. The well-maintained surface is part of what makes it so attractive, yet also why many overestimate how fast they can take it. Continue past the switchbacks, and you'll reach the East Grade, which opens into wider arcs and distant views toward the Pacific. At the summit, Mother's Kitchen is a natural stop, as is the Palomar Observatory, where riders often pause before heading back down. Spring brings wildflowers and mild air, while fall offers cooler, quieter rides. Weekdays are best to avoid heavy traffic. From here, the road changes state entirely, away from mountain grades and into landscapes that seem far simpler until you ride them. The Palouse Scenic Byway. The Palouse isn't laid out as a single road, but as a network of interconnected routes in eastern Washington, best explored as a custom loop. What at first seems like open farmland reveals a landscape of smooth, rolling hills, shifting light, and quiet backroads that keep unfolding with subtle variety. One of the most striking views comes at Steptoe Butte, which rises about 1,000 feet above the surrounding fields. From the summit, you can see farmland stretching in every direction, painted green in spring and gold during harvest. Palouse Falls adds a sudden element of drama. Its 198-foot drop into a basalt canyon feels worlds apart from the gentle farmland. History is present along the byway, too. Steptoe Battlefield recalls a 19th century clash, while the Barron Flour Mill still operates as one of the state's oldest working mills. Stops like these deepen the ride, turning it into more than just a scenic wander. Spring and late summer into early fall bring the biggest color shifts, and the flowing curves are best ridden at a steady, measured pace. It's a region where the ride is less about speed and more about keeping rhythm before you push further west into very different California backroads. Lake Berryessa to Napa Valley. From the north end of Lake Berryessa, you can follow Berryessa-Knoxville Road and cut west on Sage Canyon Road, Highway 128, into Napa Valley. This loop works as a quieter backdoor into wine country, avoiding the main highways and giving you time on open, twisting pavement well before the tourist centers of Napa. The ride has a steady rhythm, oak-dotted hills and smooth turns that keep you focused while still letting the scenery sink in. Along the lake, the Glory Hole Spillway makes for a striking sight, a circular inlet that looks like water vanishing underground. It's also a busy pull-off with cars and visitors, so plan a safe spot if you want photos. As the shoreline tapers off, the corners become tighter before the road descends toward Vineyard Rose. The shift between rugged rural California and manicured valley estates is part of what makes this ride distinct. If you plan to taste wines at the end, book local lodging. Riding afterward isn't safe. Spring brings green hills and cooler air, while autumn delivers bright gold leaves at harvest. Weekday rides in either season mean lighter traffic and more breathing room before you head toward larger mountain roads ahead. Angeles Crest Highway. Highway 2, better known as Angeles Crest Highway, runs about 66 miles through the San Gabriel Mountains and begins less than an hour from downtown Los Angeles. The first 30 miles are the most demanding, lined with switchbacks and tight hairpins that draw even motorcycle manufacturers for test rides. The smooth pavement and wide lines invite speed, but these early sections are where overconfidence leads to mistakes. Respecting the road here means treating it less as a playground and more as a proving ground. Each climb brings sharp elevation gains and sudden views of the city far below, but those same views can be distracting when you need focus most. Around mile 27 sits Newcomb's Ranch, a traditional rider's stop. Even though the restaurant is closed, it's still a natural place to pull over, check your bike, and give your body a break before pushing on. Conditions shift with the seasons. Snow and ice can shut sections down in winter, and summer often brings wildfire smoke that cuts visibility. Weekends pack the road with cars, so aim for weekdays and carry extra layers for quick temperature drops. From here, the terrain north pushes riders toward even harsher mountain corridors where the season itself can decide if the road is open. Northern Cascades Scenic. Highway 20, the Northern Cascades Scenic Highway, stretches about 140 miles across Washington state. It's only open seasonally, with snow typically closing it from mid-November until late May. That leaves roughly 5 months, late May through October, when the road is rideable, making every trip feel like a limited chance to experience alpine country before winter shuts it down again. The isolation is immediate once you leave the last town. Fuel stations are sparse, cell service drops out, and riders often share stories of nearly running dry before reaching the next pump. To avoid trouble, plan every stop in advance, carry emergency water, and store offline navigation. Improvising out here can put you in real danger, as distances between services stretch longer than expected. Still, the payoff is clear. At Washington Pass, the Liberty Bell spires rise dramatically above the road, a sight that defines the wild character of this corridor. Glacial valleys, jagged peaks, and quiet stillness make the remoteness both exhilarating and humbling. Pack layers for quick weather swings, count on extra fuel range, and treat cell service as unreliable. The next road takes you into landscapes shaped more by water and volcanic rock than by snow and granite. Cascade Lakes Scenic Byway. Starting in Bend, Oregon, the Cascade Lakes Scenic Byway stretches about 66 miles through central Oregon. It's a route that balances gentle bends with open straights, keeping the ride approachable while showcasing alpine lakes and looming volcanic peaks in the distance. The pavement is smooth and the grades are moderate, making the byway suitable for most skill levels. Unlike more technical mountain roads, this one delivers a sense of adventure without requiring constant high-intensity focus. Sparks Lake is one of the top stops. At sunrise, its still surface mirrors South Sister with near-perfect clarity. A little farther down sits Lava Lake, where wider reflections spread across the basin for a calm mid-ride pause. Both are best visited early, when winds are low and traffic is minimal. Several side roads branch off the main byway, leading to trailheads and campgrounds. These extensions make it easy to turn a single-day ride into a weekend trip if you want more time in the high country. The key is to start early, layer for shifting weather, and keep a camera ready. From here, the scenery trades peaks and lakes for the raw edges of the Oregon coast, where the pavement runs tight against the ocean. Three Capes Scenic Loop. The Three Capes Scenic Loop runs just over 40 miles along Oregon's coast, and from the start, it demands respect. Some stretches have no guardrails at all, leaving only pavement, cliffs, and the Pacific Ocean below. The road narrows and twists quickly, so ride slower than you think you need to, hold steady lines, and avoid edging too close in fog. If visibility drops, don't push through. Fog here can clear almost as fast as it rolls in, and waiting a few minutes can make the ride safer and far more rewarding. The three headlands define the loop. At Cape Mears, you'll find the historic lighthouse perched above sharp cliffs crowded with seabirds. Cape Lookout is the most dramatic, a narrow finger of land that stretches into the ocean. Its approach, one of the most striking rides on the coast. Finally, Cape Kiwanda offers a different mood. Massive sand dunes spilling toward offshore sea stacks that look carefully sculpted by wind and tide. The ideal time is a weekday morning in late spring or early fall, when traffic is light and the likelihood of clear views is highest. Beyond the coast, the next ride shifts inland, trading cliffs and dunes for a corridor of mountains and deep river gorges. Hell's Canyon Scenic Byway. The Hell's Canyon Scenic Byway covers about 218 miles through eastern Oregon, a loop that shifts constantly between thickly forested slopes, open farmland, and stark desert plateaus before tightening into the sheer walls of the Snake River Canyon. It's a route of contrasts, where the landscape changes sharply enough to keep you alert mile after mile. Planning is as critical as the riding itself. Some stretches run more than 80 miles without fuel or reliable services, so you need to calculate your bike's range carefully, include the possibility possibility of detours and carry spare fuel if your setup allows it. Joseph and Enterprise are the two towns most riders trust as anchor points for refueling and rest. Missing one of those stops can turn what should be a scenic day into a serious problem. Wildlife adds to the challenge. Elk, deer, and even black bears are common here, crossing roads without warning and rewarding only those who keep their speed in check. A steady pace not only improves safety, but allows more time to take in rim overlooks where you stand above the deepest gorge in North America. Small towns like Joseph and Enterprise balance out the remoteness with historic storefronts and a welcoming art scene, giving the loop both dramatic wilderness and a human touch. From these high desert ridges, the next ride expands into a circuit where multiple landscapes fall into place in a single loop. Olympic Peninsula Loop. The Olympic Peninsula Loop runs about 330 miles, circling one of the most diverse regions in Washington. For many riders starting out of Seattle, the trip begins with a ferry crossing over Puget Sound, an extra step that adds time and requires planning for gear storage, but it sets the tone for a ride full of variation. In a single circuit, you pass from moss-draped rainforest valleys to wave-pounded beaches with alpine ridges cutting across the middle. The Hoh Rainforest is a highlight, where dense old-growth trees and hanging moss create a shaded canopy unlike anywhere else on this list. Hurricane Ridge offers a different perspective, a 17-mile spur that climbs to about 5,200 feet, where you look across jagged summits and, on a clear day, into Canada. Then comes the northern edge, where the Strait of Juan de Fuca keeps the ocean alongside as ferries and fishing boats cross back and forth against the horizon. Weather here flips between mist, rain, and sudden sun, so pack as if for 4 seasons. Rain gear, warm layers, and breathable clothes. The distance makes it best as an overnight ride, with time to absorb each climate before making the next transition. From these cool forests and stormy coasts, the next road shifts the temperature dial in the opposite direction. Death Valley National Park. At Badwater Basin, the air feels like a wall. This is the lowest point in North America at 282 feet below sea level. Minutes later, the ride can take you up to Dante's View, nearly 5,500 feet higher, one of the most dramatic elevation shifts you can climb in a single stretch of pavement. That dramatic range makes the park unforgettable, but it also underlines why preparation matters. Death Valley regularly records temperatures above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Those extremes test both rider and machine. So carrying plenty of water, planning fuel ranges in detail, and riding with heat management in mind is non-negotiable. Adventure-style bikes, such as the BMW R1250 GS or Honda Africa Twin, are strongly recommended here, especially if you plan to explore unpaved spurs that branch from the main road. Sites like the Artist's Palette, where mineral-rich hills are streaked in green and purple, and Racetrack Playa, with its mysteriously sliding rocks, are unlike anything else on this list. But access comes with limits. Racetrack requires unpaved travel, off-road skill, and proper equipment. It's not a casual detour. For a few weeks in spring, the valley floor blooms with wildflowers, adding sudden bursts of color before the heat returns. From here, the route swings back toward the ocean, where another road waits that riders worldwide recognize instantly. Pacific Coast Highway. California's Highway 1, also called the Pacific Coast Highway, runs roughly 650 to 790 miles, depending on where you start and finish. Many riders consider the stretch from San Diego to the Oregon border at about 790 miles the full experience. Entire sections cling to cliff sides with the Pacific just beyond the edge, making it both iconic and demanding. For riders focused on photos and frequent pullouts, heading southbound keeps the ocean on your right, making it easier to stop safely for views. Fog is the unpredictable factor here. Clear skies can vanish in minutes, swallowing bridges and coastline in heavy mist that makes every corner slower and visibility near zero. Conditions shift quickly, so breaking the journey across several days isn't just more enjoyable, it reduces fatigue and lowers the risk of pushing through dangerous weather. Closures are another reality. Landslides and repairs around Big Sur often shut stretches of Highway 1, so check road status before committing to long days. Points like Bixby Bridge, the cliffs near Big Sur, and small stops such as Nepenthe offer some of the best views, but narrow shoulders and tight hairpins mean defensive riding is essential. Plan shorter daily distances to appreciate the coast rather than rush through it. Every mile of Highway 1 reminds you how diverse and demanding the West Coast can be, setting up a larger picture that comes into focus when you consider all the rides rides together. 12 rides, each with its own character, show how different the West Coast feels once you're on two wheels. Towering forests, alpine passes, cliffside roads above the Pacific, and desert stretches that test both rider and bike. This list brings it all together in one place. Now you've got a curated set of 12 routes with names, distances, highlights, best times to go, and the practical tips needed to plan with confidence. Comment below with which route you'd ride first and why, and subscribe for more detailed route breakdowns. Your next great ride is on the map, not behind you.